Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my read through of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition Player's Handbook. We've gone through the races, we're going through the classes now, and I am now today. This is a special day because, in my opinion, this is the most powerful class in this book. I'm going to talk about the priest. Most powerful? What are you talking about? No. Hear me out. He's great at fighting. He's great at spell casting. He can easily, with a couple of skills, be great at overland travel, scout, all that good stuff. The stuff that the priest can do, he can do all of it. Not the best, but good enough to where you're not going to care. Let's check it out.
Yeah, my contention is this, not contention, agreement, but is that so many people they want to protect the cleric so badly they won't let the cleric fight.
Yes, and the cleric is made for fighting. We're going to get into that. He's supposed to be fighting. He's a warrior of God. The only warrior of God cooler than him is the paladin. And that's why they're so rare. Let's go. The priest is a believer and advocate of a god from a particular mythos. Or if you don't want to use that in your game, just generic god. You can do that too. That's absolutely fine. More than just a follower, he intercedes and acts on behalf of others, seeking to use his powers to advance the beliefs of his mythos. So you aren't just in church preaching away. You are out there on the ground. You are out there in the field. You are getting your hands dirty, and sometimes that means you got to club some skulls. The priest understands that, so he's trained to do it. All priests have certain powers: the ability to cast spells, the strength of arm to defend their beliefs, and special deity-granting powers to aid them in their calling. While priests are not as fierce in combat as warriors, they are trained to use weaponry in the fight for their cause. They can cast spells, primarily to further the god's aims and protect its adherents. They have few offensive spells, but the ones they do are very powerful. All priests use 8-sided dice. D8s. Only priests gain additional spells for having high wisdom scores. All priests have a limited selection of weapons and armor, but the restrictions vary according to the mythos. Again, we're going to get into that, especially when we get into specialty priests on my next segment. All priests use table 23 to determine their advancement in the level as they gain experience points. They also use table 24 to determine how many spells they receive at each level of experience. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at that since it's right here. So table 23, to go up to second level is only 1,500 experience. Better, the only thing better is a thief.
And you haven't covered them yet.
I haven't covered them. That's next. But come on, man, 1,500? A wizard's 2,500 and he can't even wear armor or use a weapon worth a damn and has a really, really crappy Thaco. The priest doesn't have any of these problems.
And then they got you.
Yeah, and he's got double the hit points. He's rolling D8s. Wizard's rolling D4. Not only do you have less hit points, you can't wear any armor. That's a mugs game. I'm not playing that game. I'm playing a priest.
Do you want to get to the gotcha though?
What's that?
The gotcha where the experience points all of a sudden changes.
Oh yeah, you can see it goes. Where is it? Yeah,
it's always fun to compare to the wizard because the wizard's the highest one.
Yep.
So 225,000 for a priest to get to 9th level.
Yep.
And what is it for the wizard?
For the wizard, it is $250, but 11th level is 375. For the priest, that's going to be what, 450?
I forget. I know it's right in that area where the experience points change.
Yeah, 450, right there, level 10. It flip-flops around. 450. That's crazy. And then the wizard is advancing faster after that every single time. But that's the way it goes. It's the way it is. But the thing is, I'm okay with that. From what I'm going to tell you now, I'm okay with that because of the stuff that the priest gets just out of the box. It's freaking crazy. Now the spell progression looks pretty familiar. Mm-hmm. 1 2 2 1 3 2 3 3 1 3 3 2. It's pretty linear type deal.
But you have more variety at your fingertips.
But this is where the nerf comes in.
Uh-oh.
See these asterisks? At level 6 and level 7 spells, you cannot even cast these spells unless you have a 17 and 18 wisdom.
That's right.
That's rough.
I never, well, I shouldn't say never, but I rarely run games at that level, so I just completely forgot about that.
That is rough.
Cool.
You are never going to be the pinnacle of your art as long if you don't have an 18, really, an 18 to cast the 7th level and a 17 to cast the 6th level. You're never going to get that. And getting that 17 and 18, if you're rolling straight, that's hard. And that's tough, man. So if you have an 18 wisdom and you decide not to be a priest, I don't know what to tell you, man, except you're dumb. All right, here we go. Oh, that's too close. There we go. All priest spells are divided into 16 categories called spheres of influence. Now, the mage, the wizard, has schools of magic. These are spheres of influence. This is the reason it's called sphere of influence is because it's granted by a god, and this god has in its nature a an area that it specializes in. You know, like Ra would specialize in light and sun and fire, and Thor would specialize in, guess what, thunder and lightning. Stuff like that. So depending on what god you pray to, those are the spells you're going to get. Those specific spheres of influences. Now, again, if you just want to do the Yahweh, God is all one, blah 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 crap, then you don't have to worry about that. You get access to all the spheres, I guess, but you don't get other special things that we're going to talk about later.
Well, also, it's not relevant to this book, but just to put it out there for folks, there are, I think, 4 or 6 other spheres that come in later in, I think, the Priest's Handbook.
Yeah. The 16 spheres of influence are as follows: all, animal, astral, charm, combat, creation, divination, elemental, guardian, healing, necromantic, plant, protection, summoning, sun, and weather. Does that seem like a lot? It is. But it's all very holistic. Weather, sun, plant, creation. It's all godly because this is where it all comes from. It comes from God. All nature comes from God. God created the earth, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then it makes sense that powers granted by God would also follow the same conditions. In addition, a priest has either major or minor access to a sphere. A priest with major access to a sphere can eventually cast all the spells in that sphere. A priest with minor access to a sphere can only cast 1st through 3rd level spells from that sphere, no matter what level they are. All priests gain 1 8-sided die per level of hit points, 1st through 9th. After 9th, they earn 2 hit points per level and no longer get bonuses for high constitution. I think that is it. Yep, that is it for this page. So we're going to look at the cleric now. Ability requirement, wisdom 9. Nope. Prime requisite, wisdom. Yep. Races allowed, everyone. Everyone. God does not... God is not speciesist. Well, okay, certain particular
a lot of the realms,
each
race has their own gods.
Each race has their own god, but he'll take worshipers from wherever. Doesn't care. The most common type of priest is the cleric. The cleric may be an adherent to any religion, although if the DM designs a specific mythos, the cleric's abilities and spells may be changed. Again, that's for specialty clerics. Clerics are generally good, but not restricted to good. They can have any alignment acceptable to their order. So you can have bad clerics and good clerics. Just you worship a bad god, so you do bad things, and he gives you cool stuff to do bad things with. A cleric must have a wisdom score of 9 or more. High constitution and charisma are also particularly useful. You don't get any numbers bonuses for this except during role play. Having a priest with a high constitution is great because you have more hit points, and your saves may be a little better because you should be fighting. And a high charisma, well, everyone remembers the charismatic preacher, right? So, yeah. The cleric class is similar to certain religious orders of knighthood in the Middle Ages. Orders of knighthood. The Teutonic Knights, the Knights Templar, and Hospitallers. I always screw that up. These orders combined military and religious training with a code of protection and service. Members are trained as knights and devoted themselves to the service of the church. These orders were frequently found on the outer edges of the Christian world, either on the fringe of the wilderness or in war-torn lands, where a warrior priest is more needed. Archbishop Turpin in Song of Roland is an example of such a cleric. Similar orders can also be found in other lands, such as the Sohei
So
of
hey,
Japan. Clerics are sturdy soldiers, although their selection of weapons is a bit limited. They can wear any type of armor and use any shield. Standard clerics, being reluctant to shed blood or spread violence, are allowed to use only blunt, bludgeoning weapons. I don't know, man. If you crush someone's skull, is that considered less violent than stabbing him in the chest? I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other,
well,
but
I actually think that bludgeoning is worse. It's harder to heal. It's harder to. It does more damage internally. You have a lot more things you don't see. Like,
yeah, it's insidious. They can use a fair number of magical items, including pre-scrolls, most potions and rings, some wands and rods, staves, armor, shields, and magical versions of any weapons allowed by their order. Spells are the main tools of the cleric, however, helping him serve, fortify, protect, and revitalize those under his care. He has a wide variety of spells to choose from, suitable to many different purposes and needs. A priest of a specific mythos probably has more restricted range of spells. A cleric has major access to every sphere of influence except plant, animal, weather, and elemental. He has minor access to the elemental sphere and cannot cast any of the spells of the other 3 spheres: plant, animal, and weather. Why? Because druids exist. That's why. The cleric receives his spells as insight directly from his deity. The deity need not make a personal appearance, just you pray and answers your prayers. As a sign and reward of his faith, so he must take care not to abuse his power lest it be taken away. And that is another rub. He is a spellcaster that can have his power shut off if he doesn't straighten up and fly right. Same as a paladin.
generally a little more lenient than paladin, because paladin's also
Yes.
pulled into his own code
Yes.
and all that other
A
nonsense.
little more
as well.
lenient. You're absolutely right. But in both cases, God can snap his fingers and shut you off.
Yeah, if you do something that's against the gods, like you got a god that's just totally against murder, you can never kill for any reason, way, shape, or form. It's not just a code. Yeah, both the paladin and the cleric, like, you didn't want to murder, but negligence got you there, and that's still a crime or sin, whatever. Just the paladin has more rules internally.
Yes, a little harder. The cleric is also granted power over undead, evil creatures that exist in a form of non-life, neither dead nor alive. The cleric is charged with defeating these mockeries of life. His ability to turn undead enables him to drive away these creatures or just blow them up. Some of the more common undead creatures are ghosts, zombies, skeletons, ghouls, and mummies. Vampires and liches are 2 of the most powerful undead and, of course, the hardest to turn. As a cleric advances in level, he gains additional spells, better combat skills, stronger turning ability. Upon reaching 8th level, the cleric automatically attracts a fanatically loyal group of believers, provided the character has established a place of worship of significant size. Now, what's significant? That's up to you and the DM, right? The cleric can build this place of worship at any time during his career, but he does not attract believers until 8th level. These followers are normal warriors, 0-level soldiers, ready to fight for the cleric's cause. The cleric attracts 20 to 200 of these followers. They arrive over a period of several weeks.
And now you know how cults are formed.
There you go. Now the initial followers assemble, no new followers trickle in to fill the ranks of those who have fallen in service. So you lose them, you just lose them. The DM decides the exact number and types of followers attracted by the cleric. The character can hire other troops as needed, but these are not as loyal as his fanatical follower boys. At 9th level, the cleric may receive official approval to establish a religious stronghold, be it a fortified abbey or a secluded convent. Obviously, the stronghold must contain all the trappings of a place of worship and must be dedicated to the service of the cleric's cause. However, the construction cost of the stronghold is half the normal price since the work has official sanction and much of the labor is donated. The cleric can hold property and build a stronghold at any time before reaching 9th level, but is done without the church's sanction, so you don't get that 50% off price. which is fine. That's fine. And then it goes into priest of a specific mythos, and I'm going to stop here. Now, this is right now your basic monotheistic priest. Your God is hands off, but he's out there and he grants all spells except for plant, animal, and weather. And you get minor. What was it? Minor in crap. What was it? I forget. Minor elemental sphere, and none of plant, animal, or weather, because that's for the druid, which is a specialty type cleric, and I'm going to go over him in the next segment, along with I'm going to pull out a book. The Legends and Lore book for AD&D Second Edition is amazing. You've got all kinds of gods from all kinds of different pantheons, and you get a write up of all their specialty priest powers and limitations. So I'm going to give that as an example. So what do we have for chat?
Before we go into that, because I want to mention this now, hit the super chat first, since this just popped up. The game is missing the priests of Gygax. I've never seen them in any of the material. Oh, you mean the priors of Gygax?
Priors, there it is. Yeah.
Thank you for the $20. There are definitely some people out there who worship at the altar of Gygax. Here's my mentality on that one. When I hear the difference between Gygax and Arneson, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I side with Arneson. But I also don't care about what either of them say. I care what they put in their books. That tells me what the rule is. That tells me what happened. Now, second edition wasn't Gygax. We all know that. But yeah, but the Priest of Gygax, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Now, this leads
Probably
into
online.
something here where I'm going to disagree with Heathen Dog a little bit on the difference between, and I want to do this before we get into the Priest of specific mythos, and that's the difference between a cleric and a
druid,
a priest.
Oh, cleric and a priest. Okay.
Well, especially priest or a priest. Heathen Dog, for whatever reason, which kind of surprises me, you take a very, very monotheistic view of the cleric. Most D&D worlds aren't monotheistic. Most of them are polytheistic.
The reason I do that is because most of the worlds that I ran were my own.
Fair enough. Okay.
And
that's
so
fair.
I just want to make it easier on myself. Like, there's God, good God, and bad God. There you go.
That's fair. And you know what? You out there can make your own world like that. So here's how I handle the cleric versus the specialty priest that he's going to get into, especially when he starts talking about legends and lore, or you grab the Forgotten Realms book with all the priests. They got 9 million. They're like the Japanese, man. 6,000. I'm sure there's a toilet god in there somewhere.
It's in all the Forgotten Realms gods are in the Legends and Lore book too.
I don't think all of them are.
Well,
are they?
A great many.
Okay. Well, a lot of them actually come from real world. That's like Maliki, Tyr, and so forth. Those are actually real, like Norse and so forth gods. Anyway, so here's how I handle it. Clerics serve a pantheon. So a cleric, that's why they get such, if you look at the spell list, cleric spell lists are so much wider than specialty priests. Specialty priest has a different advantage. So because their spell list is wider, if the cleric needs something natural, he might pray to Gaia. If he needs something a little more powerful, he might pray to Zeus. If he needs something, pray for some wisdom, he might pray to Athena. And none of that matters because he understands that the entire pantheon is real and all the gods are real. He doesn't pick one. What he does do is make sure that you, in your life, essentially support the pantheon.
Yeah.
The flip side is the specialty priest. That's the one that picks one. He might know that the other gods exist, but they're either wrong or lesser or in a not for him.
They're not the ones I hitch my wagon to.
Right. And because of that, as he's going to explain in the next video, they tend to have a smaller spell selection. Forgotten Realms, I have to exclude you from that because you basically give every spell to everybody because you're weird. But they have a smaller spell selection, but they get special powers that represent that god. So that's how I do. I let the cleric, he's kind of a universalist, but he does have to be faithful to the pantheon. And the specialty priest is more monotheistic without being monotheistic. He picks one. Thoughts on that before we go to chat?
No, that's pretty much right.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We did that one. Once again, we'll say happy birthday to Walter MC. Now, Doc Flamingo. Okay, we saw that. Where do we start here? Okay, here we go. Doc Flamingo for $2. Thank you very much. In 1E, don't recall 2E. No, it's not in 2E. Your god's level also limits you to max spell level. If I remember correctly, the priest's handbook does talk about that. It's one of the handbooks I use the least. But I don't ever remember there being a true limitation saying, well, if it's only a demigod or only a lesser god, you get less spells.
There is the whole thing where you get less granted abilities.
Sure, for specialty priests.
Yeah. For like if for example, Hercules is a demigod. He doesn't take worshippers, but he could. But his granted abilities would be lesser than a regular intermediate or greater god or whatever. And in some cases, some gods don't even grant spells. In very rare cases, gods don't grant spells. What they do is sometimes they grant you all the abilities of a fighter or all the abilities of a thief as their special ability. You can do that in turn. That's about it.
Yep.
We'll get over it.
Let's see. Polyrobotics. Oh, we just read this one. So, okay. Yeah. I thought we had another super chat in there, but I guess not. So, I didn't start anything else because I think people were listening intently. Got a bunch of people watching that. So, a lot of conversation going on over in the Rumble side, by the way.
Oh, good.
Like, oh, come on. I can't scroll back up. Rumble covers half the stuff. We're on a mission from God. Like, yes, you are. Got a little Blues Brothers action going on here. And then Darius also said, brain tends to stick to a hammer after you hit someone in the head. And as somebody who's actually witnessed brain on the side of a car, he's right. He's right. So, yeah. So I don't know. That's always been weird to me that the bludgeoning weapon thing, it's a kinder, gentler weapon. No,
it is
not.
No, it is not.
All right. What are you going to cover next, sir?
Next, I'm going to cover specialty priests in general and the druid in particular.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. I have a lot of thoughts on the druid that I will not give today. I debated doing the druid's handbook, but I've covered that a couple of times. You're like, where's that video? Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to find them. If the old gatekeepers videos are up somewhere, you can see a big discussion on the true neutral alignment, which you can do. And anybody who says you can't is actually an idiot. And somebody's trying to hamstring the true neutral alignment into being something that it's not. At the same time, I do prefer the old version of neutrality over the 9 alignment version. And then also the whole idea of the druids and their circles, which I think Heathen Dog will get into, their hierarchy of where they have to start doing their fighting. A lot of people don't like that as well. But when you look at all the things that a druid can do and what you become after the fact, I don't know. I don't think that that's such a drawback. Oh no, you're stuck at 12th level again by 1 experience point. Who the hell cares? But hey, maybe it's you. Anyway, with that, look forward to seeing you in the next video.